Hello, my name is Simon, known as Ata or Genetic Prodigy. I'm pretty well known in the Omega Strikers community for being a mentally resilient player, and seeing as how many people struggle with that, and not only on the in Omega Strikers but in every game, I wanted to talk a bit about how I approach that issue, and what I do to make sure that I stay cool and avoid tilting. Um, Starting off, just before we get into it, I'd like to mention that I'm no professional when it comes to this. It's just my thoughts and my process, what I've done to improve my own mental. So your mileage may vary if you choose to apply it. Maybe it helps, maybe it doesn't. But I urge you to try at least. So going into like how I've like developed this, I'll go more into it as we go. But basically, in order to improve my own mental game, what I've done is essentially a lot of introspection. I've thought about why I feel certain things, why I feel the way I feel, what makes me feel that way, and like how can I apply this to avoid tilting in games and have a more enjoyable time playing. Um, so that is the process. Like if you want to do it without my advice, the stuff that works for me, if you want to find your own path, then think about those things, explore those things, try to figure out how your brain works. Um, but we should get into why I talk about emotions here, basically, as what I've focused on for it. And pretty simply, I think tilts, nobody's going to contest if I say that tilt comes from negative emotions, right? We tilt because we're upset or angry, we're disappointed, these sort of things, right? So you want to minimize those. And you want to try and have a good time instead. You want to try and maximize the amount of positive feelings you have while you're playing a game. That's like the best approach, I think, to kind of get started working on your mental. Now, what I think is like a key pillar here is having fun, right? And I think a lot of people who tilt in games, they tilt because they're focusing on the wrong thing for having fun. What do I mean by the wrong thing? As it relates to myself, I think of having fun as like I break it down into a couple different categories, mainly two. One which can be divided further, but the first one is having fun from playing the game, and the other one is having fun from winning. Playing the game could be further divided into having fun from like the moment-to-moment gameplay, what you're doing, and having fun from a high quality, even intense, fun match, right? So there's a difference there as well, I think. So going into how like this affects like your mental state, I think the easiest way to like avoid tilting is if you're having fun while you're playing. So then we need to find a way to have fun. And I just mentioned those like three main things I think contributes to having fun, at least for me, applies to me, right? I think the best approach you should go for is having fun from moment to moment gameplay. That might not be possible in the game you're playing currently. Um, but I would urge you to try and find that sort of fun. Like experiment with stuff. Like if it's viable for you to experiment a bit, try something new, while not actively creeping your team, then that's a good approach to like find something more fun for you that you'll have more fun playing. And if you have more fun playing, I think it's harder to tilt just in general. Having fun with the high quality matches is something that's more applicable to like if you're playing in a tournament setting or a league setting where it's somewhat evenly matched, or you're doesn't have to be like the apex skill level, it could be like an amateur league or something. As long as it's relatively even and you're trying to compete, then you'll often get that sort of fun from games, like the game quality and stuff. That's mainly what I get from tournaments, right? Because then I'm not playing the funny stuff. I'm playing to win, but a lot of the fun I'm getting is from the playing versus good opponents, playing with good teammates, coordinating, that sort of stuff, right? And that's another avenue of fun. I think it's dangerous to rely on fun from winning. That's where a lot of issues can occur. If the way you have fun is related to if you win or not, in essence, related to your performance. If you play like ass, you're gonna feel like ass, and you're not gonna have any fun. So I think having fun from winning isn't necessarily bad if it's combined with other stuff. If you have fun in the moment-to-moment gameplay, and you have fun winning a game, that works. But if you're not having fun in the moment-to-moment gameplay, or because of a high-quality match, all your fun is coming from winning, then losing is gonna ruin your day, right? I think if your fun comes from winning, you need to be really careful, because what happens if you lose, right? You don't have any fun. You're playing a game to have fun. That's the main reason we play games. We want to have fun, right? So if you're not having any fun, well, then you're not achieving what you want to. So what happens then if you have a teammate who makes a big mistake and severely reduces the chances of you winning the game? What happens then? In essence, that teammate is taking your enjoyment of the game away from you. That's a problem. Your teammate is making you not have fun by making a mistake. That can be really, really bad for your attitude towards other players, especially your own teammates. Now, also, like, the blame doesn't have to go to a teammate, although it often does, but it can also go to game balance, matchmaking, this or that, whatever systems in the game. And those are often, like, to some extent, valid criticisms. But when the blame falls on a teammate, that really doesn't help. You know what else doesn't help as well? Taking your frustration out on that teammate. That does not help. So let's do an experiment in empathy here, right? How would that teammate feel if you went up to them, emoted them, blamed them, talked to them in chat, like being mean in general, right? Who is this teammate of ours? Are they a lower rank player who was unlucky and got into your lobby, and now they made a big mistake and it cost you the game? How would that person feel if one of their, like, well, it could be that you're one of their heroes, right? You're a player they look up to. You start flaming them, chewing them out. That will only reduce your chance of winning the game, because they'll feel like absolute shit. They'll feel horrible, and the entire thesis here, right, is that it's your emotions that affects your tilt. And I haven't said this yet, but obviously tilt affects your performance, right? So this teammate is now going to play worse, most likely. They could also be an equal skill player or a higher skill player, anyone really. Still, they could feel bad, they could feel annoyed, they could feel angry, they could feel disappointed, all from your choice of showing them the displacement of the situation. That only makes your chances of winning the game worse, right? In fact, there is, like, no good outcome to this. So I would say if your fun comes from winning, don't blame your teammates if they make a mistake. Even though it feels good to do, I assume. I don't know else why people would do it if it doesn't feel good to do. Yeah, it'll make the chance of winning the game even lower, right? Same goes for, like, soft inting and stuff like that, right? If your fun is coming from winning, this guy, reduce your chances of winning. There's no reason for you to go and thus further reduce those chances of winning yourself. And I understand it's like an emotional, it's not a rational action to begin with. It's purely based on emotions. But you should explore that side of yourself, like figure it out, figure what could you change something? Could you try and keep yourself in check? Right? I'd urge you to try and change things up. So I want to summarize this basically into a bit of a more cohesive list of things, right? I think the number one thing you should try and do in order to have a better mental when playing a game is to try to find enjoyment in the moment-to-moment gameplay. Whether that comes from playing something wacky that isn't necessarily like griefing your team, because you need to be careful about that, right? But try and find something that you enjoy doing in the game. If there's nothing you enjoy in the game, I say go play a different game. It doesn't matter like if you've played lots of the game you're currently playing, you're not actually having fun with it, go do something else, please. Like you'll be better off for it. Are you in a situation where you played like Kai for 1,742 games? Instead of playing the 1,743rd match, try something new, right? Try another character, try something, it doesn't have to be silly necessarily, just try something else. Like, have some variance in what you're doing. Otherwise, you'll eventually get bored of just playing the same thing over and over again as well. Number 2 would be managing your expectations. I didn't really touch on this in the earlier thing, but it's a very important thing, right? Because if you have, for example, if you have high expectations of your teammates going into a game, if they make a mistake, do something wrong, whatever, that'll make you disappointed. That's a negative emotion, right? And if you're disappointed and upset that your team sucks, then you're more than likely to end up not having the best mental state. You're not going to have as much fun. You should try to go into every game as neutral as possible. Don't screw your teammates, not in a mean way, but like your focus should be on you and what you're doing. And I guess what the enemy is doing and how you can counter that, right? And how you can play around your teammates. But your focus mentally should be on you. How are you feeling? What are you doing? And if your teammate makes a mistake, well, they're a random player, right? They'll probably make a mistake sometime. You make a mistake sometimes, right? So it's whatever. If you lose because of it, well, then you lose. But if your fun is not mainly coming from winning, that's fine. As long as you still have fun in the game, then it's all good. You can get the LP back later, right? It doesn't matter that much. This is one game. Now, number 3 would be try and be nice to the teammates you have. And like this seems maybe like, how does this help your mental? I think being nice to people actually makes it harder to become angry or upset or mad, right? I think if you try to be nice to the people around you, you'll find it harder to not be nice. Also, there's the fact that if you're nice to people, they're more likely to be nice to you. Thus, you don't get any, or you reduce the likelihood of getting negative feedback from your teammates. And that can help you keep your cool. As well, you're helping your teammates keep their cool by being nice to them. I've seen this firsthand with players who I initially weren't on good terms with. I started being nice to them. Eventually, they started being nice to me too. And we play better when we're on the same team than we used to do. I generally say, like, remember that no matter how much that one teammate may seem like they're a bot, they're still another person, right? And especially if you're playing in a small game like Omega Strikers, being nice to the people around you, or at least shutting up and not typing, not emoting, not running around circles around them, it'll it'll get you so much further. Now, my number 4 would be for those who actually really care about winning. 'Cause sometimes it's 2 days away from season reset. You really want to hit challenger or whatever, right? If you're in that position, I'd try, first of all, I'd try to not be in that position. I'd think about trying to get the rank a bit earlier than a couple of days ahead of time, right? So essentially, like when you're looking to get LP, when you're looking to climb, if your main fun comes from the climb and winning, because that's what you're trying to do right now, I would suggest if you lose and you get tilted and you're upset, go take a break, go do something else, go do some chores, play another game, preferably a single player game. Go watch a YouTube video, go outside, come back tomorrow, come back later, play another game. Don't queue up when you're tilted. If your goal is to win and you queue up tilted, then you're gonna have less fun because you're more likely to lose. Because you're already starting off bad. I think that's what I have for this. And like generally, right, maybe this is helpful for some people, like seeing my process of this sort of stuff, but it might not work for everyone, right? But if you want to improve your mental game, it's really all about like figuring out how you feel, what causes you to feel things, what did those emotions do to you, how did they affect your gameplay, how did they affect the people around you, how did the people around you affect you, and just exploring that, figuring out how your brain works, and then trying to min-max it so that you have as good of a time as possible and having as little negative events as possible as you can. That's gonna be it for my tips to have better mental. Hopefully it helps some of you. I'll see you in solo queue, hopefully. Have a good one.